discussion, inshallah. So, for those who don't know, today's topic is modern issues faced by Muslim youth and the solutions to them. So, one might question why exactly this topic. The main reason is because when you look at the young Muslims today, you'll find that on one side, there's a general fear and anxiety regarding being Muslims, and on the other side, there's a turmoil and distress, even though they have accepted their identity as Muslims. So there's also one side where Muslim youth has completely denounced Islam and they don't want to identify themselves as anything remotely Islamic because they assume that Islam is somewhat backward or is holding them back from the opportunities that they can get if they were not Muslims. And the main thing that comes into question is if that this scenario is our future. If we do not address it and attempt to change it, we will be heading towards a confusion-filled ummah who really don't know what they want from life and if Islam should be a part of their life or not. And another reason why we decided to take a mental outlook on this issue is because in just general, Muslims have a tendency to either A, avoid mental health issues, assuming that if you ignore it long enough, it will just go away. And second is, I think, even more dangerous, saying that you have mental health issues because you are not religious enough or you lack closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But with a significant number of Muslim youth reporting issues like depression, anxiety, identity crisis, we need to address the mental health with an open mind. And we also need to give a religious opinion on the mental health issues because most of the counselors available in the world right now are non-Muslims and they do have a tendency of taking the youth or the person who is suffering from mental illness because away from Islam because they think that being a Muslim is causing those mental health issues. So, onwards, inshallah. So, a short introduction about me. I am Arshi Parvez Dokadia, and I am certified in clinical psychology of children and adolescents from University of Edinburgh. I'm currently pursuing my master's in clinical psychology. I'm also currently pursuing my bachelor's in Islamic psychology under Islamic Online University. And I work with Islamic Reflections blog, who is behind this current webinar, and also Aspiring Counselors Club. Alhamdulillah. So, moving on, outline for today's webinar would be who are the youth and why are they important in Islam? This will be a very quick overview of the problems faced by the Muslim youth. And I intend to be very brief about the problems because we see them on a daily basis. And if you have any doubts regarding the problems faced by the Muslim youth, all you need to do is just talk to one of your young acquaintances and you will realize how tough it can be for them. Then I intend to focus on the causes of the problems and in depth outlook on the causes so that parents, adults who have the power to help the youth and youth themselves can understand the underlying root causes. And once you know them, you can work towards dealing with it. So next would be the role of older generation and the youth themselves. Because we need to stop the blame game and saying that the problems in the current Ummah are because of the older generation or they are because of the younger generation. this should be more solution focused. And the last point, just before the question and answer session, would be about self esteem. And this is not just for the youth, but for the adults too. As you will see in the coming slides, that most of the problems the youth face or our Ummah faces is somewhere based in the fact that we are not comfortable with our identity as Muslims. We do not have enough self esteem to be who we are or who we want to be. And it has also affected how we view ourselves and how we view ourselves in comparison with the present world. And then will be the question answer session. So, any questions that you have, you can put it on the live chat and we'll address them, inshallah. So, coming to the next slide. Who are the Muslim youth? Youth is often called the prime of our lives. It so G.B. Shaw once said that youth is wasted on the young. That's deep, isn't it? Youth is a time filled with energy, leisure, a time where your body and mind cooperate with you. And you basically feel like you can achieve anything you set your mind to. Yet, what does most of the youth do? And at the end of the day, when we are older, wiser, and weathered a few storms, then we realize that we wasted our youth or our prime. And thus, it's said that youth is wasted on the young. It is an age filled with energy, motivation. But at the same time, there are changes and confusion. Youth is a strata of the society that is neither young, there is neither adult with responsibilities, duties, and independence, nor are they children with the leeway of being able to do nothing and get away with their mistakes. They are experiencing hormonal changes, physical changes, and most importantly, a change in their perspective. What was acceptable just a couple years ago seems a horrible option now. There are a different set of rules, different strictures, different expectations, as well as different ambitions. And while they are expected to act responsible and mature in some situations, in other situations, they have no say because they are not adults yet. And coming to the next question, why are they important to Islam? Why they are important to Ummah? So just look at the young Ummah today. And do you think they will be able to carry out the responsibilities and duties of a Muslim Ummah? And I'm not saying that they should be able to invite people to Islam or even be proud of their identity. But are they just able to accept themselves as Muslims? And I don't require an answer from you directly, but I urge you to think over this. So let's summarize the problems that the youth is facing right now. First of all, there is an internalized racism. They don't like themselves, they don't like Islam, and not liking ourselves is a part of teenagehood somehow. It happens a lot that we are facing self esteem issues when we are growing up because hormonal changes, physical changes, and it's somewhere the identity crisis is there in the young age. But with Muslim youth, the thing that happens is that they're ashamed to admit that they are Muslims. And of course, the identity crisis is magnified as a Muslim youth because most of us are having dual roles. So, and this used to be blatant only in non-Muslim countries, but nowadays, thanks to the advent of the social media, even Muslim youth living in Islamic countries have mixed up ideals and they don't really understand what they want to be. The main reason behind this is because the definition of acceptable, cool, beautiful, popular are decided somewhat by the West. Young people fight a battle daily about being a Muslim and being accepted in the society filled with glitter, which they often view only through rose tinted glasses. Then comes the effect of social media, which is slightly overlapping with the previous point, and we will analyze both the effect of media and social media in the next slides. But it is very important to keep in mind that many of the mental health issues the youth faces start off from the low self-esteem based in social media. And then there is the bad personal experience and a feeling of not being welcome in the Muslim community. So, when I learned that I was going to present this webinar, I decided to ask some questions to the Muslim youth. And I went to my social media handles and I asked them, what issues do you face as a Muslim youth? And one response was, I would like to tell other Muslims that I am a Muslim because often it is accompanied by a lecture that I don't act Muslim enough. I pray 5 times a day, I do my obligations, and then I stopped going to my Islamic classes because of that. And there are numerous such cases. Children are not allowed in masjid because they cause the ruckus. And then people also lament over the fact that the youth is not going to the masjid, and the Muslim youth is not in the masjid, they're not participating in Islamic functions. And then I'm not saying that you should not correct people, but let's clearly understand one thing that there's a way to do that. If your way is making people run out of the masjid and never to return, or just ignoring you, then maybe a change in approach would be appreciated. And the last issue is faced by many young Muslim women, and even young Muslim men come up with the question that is my religion something that oppresses women? And on the outset, it might seem so. Muslim women have some boundaries set, they have some rules, they have a dress code, and yeah, it seems like they are oppressed. And people who do not have the proper knowledge of Islam, or they have the knowledge but miss certain extremes, they might think that Muslim women are oppressed. But the boundaries, the rules, the strictures are not just for Muslim women. And that is one point everybody ignores, that there are rules for Muslim men too. Yeah, they are a set of different rules. But then again, men and women are different. Women are awesome, Alhamdulillah. And they can't be men. They don't want or they should not want to be men. Because when you say that I want to be like a man, you are saying that they are better than you and they are something you must aspire to be. To find a place in this world, you do not need to give up your femininity. You can be a woman and you can be awesome. And men are awesome in their own way too. And at the same time, you should remember that if our Creator has set out some rules for us, a different set of rules for men and women. They are there because men and women are wired differently. They respond to things differently and they think differently. So the rules are for our own optimal functioning. It's like a machine. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows where we will prosper the most. Okay, so causes of the problems. And we'll look into detail among all these problems. So the first one is media marginalization. And the media has taken an approach towards Islam where Islam is a very violent religion and they are propagating Islamophobia. Then there's social media, and I'm not going to be talking about how social media, delves deeper into Islamophobia, but how social media affects the self-esteem and the mental health of the youth. And then there's a lack of Islamic knowledge. And then the question is, who are our ideas again? What is the majority of Muslim scholars propagating nowadays, and who is right? And there is a lack of Islamic guidance. Okay, so one must understand that Islamic knowledge and Islamic guidance are two separate things. Islamic knowledge is the theory, the Quran, the tafsir, the hadith, the explanation of the hadith, the theory part. But you need some guidance to apply this theory into your practical life, to address the issues that you are facing in the practical life through a lens of Islamic knowledge. Then there are different sects, different perspectives, and the youth is majorly confused on who is right again. The last second point is hating Islam is very easy. It is celebrated, and with the different perspectives coming towards you about how Islam is hard, how it's backward and it's oppressing, and there are too many rules. Hating Islam becomes very easy for a young person who is not sure about what he or she wants. So, media marginalization. If there is an attack, a bomb blast, or even an accident, it is assumed that it must be a Muslim terrorist. And when it is not a Muslim terrorist, it must be a mentally ill person. Then there was the case, the very popular case of Ahmed Muhammad, whose clock was mistaken for a bomb. And then the media is also telling us young Muslims that, Islam oppresses people. It propagates slavery. It oppresses women, and then there are barbaric rules and barbaric punishments. So, with the colorful portrayal of how horrific Islam is, this makes the Muslim youth doubt their religion and doubt whether they are following the right thing. Because, yes, some punishments might feel extremely barbaric. And this actually brings us to the point of lack of Islamic knowledge because we do not know the context of those punishments or those verses and the popular issues and conspiracies that prop up. We don't know actually the context, and that's why we often misunderstand why there are certain rules in Islam. And the next topic is effect of social media. See, avid social media use is already detrimental to your mental health. In addition to this, social media makes Muslims add to the insecurity amongst Muslim youth and especially among women. So, if you can see the slide, uh, it's a Google Complete. Instagram makes me depressed. Instagram makes me feel ugly. Instagram makes me sad. Instagram makes me feel insecure. And if you open up your Instagram today and go to the popular section, you will find these beautiful women and good looking men. And somewhere the young Muslim youth wants to be like them. A young Muslim woman is beautiful. Alhamdulillah, mashallah, she's gorgeous. But she wears a hijab, so she can't be as popular as that other woman on social media. And this is adding to their insecurity because already being modest is not a popular notion. And looking at beautiful people, even though it is through thousands of filters, you know, anyone who knows Instagram knows that, or Snapchat knows that those apps have filters to make you look gorgeous within seconds, even though you just woke up and haven't even washed your face. So this is actually making the youth insecure and affecting their mental health. And of course, it's making them feel depressed and ugly and sad and insecure. And the mental when the mental health of the youth is affected, they are doubting what Islam is, and they just want to fly free of all these boundaries because of course I can get 1,000 likes on my Instagram post. It's just because I am wearing a hijab I can't. And that is an adverse effect that's driving Muslim youth to slack off their principles just to get a certain number of likes and then just to fit in that societal norms. And then who are our ideals? Let's face it, sometimes we set out a very bad example and end up pushing youth away from Islam. Like, look at this meme, the poster. Is a woman comparable to a candy? Seriously, is that what you're saying? That a woman is a commodity and she needs to be covered up to be good? I mean, let's address this. If you are not gonna wear the hijab right, you might as well take it off. And the thing that the Muslim youth or the Muslim people who are at the maximum level of Iman, at least from the outward way, should understand that clearly there are certain levels of Iman. And we don't know what's in the heart, but at the same time, when you like someone, you love someone, you want to emulate their ways. And it shows in your way of dressing, way of talking, a way of looking at things. Your perspective completely changes. So, not everyone is at the level of a niqab. Not everyone is wearing a thobe and having a long beard. And that is okay. You know, it starts off small, but it can grow into something big. But if someone just started wearing a headscarf and you tell her, but sister, you shouldn't wear jeans with it, she might remove the headscarf because she's thinking that, oh, well, I'm not gonna be perfect anyways. You are somewhere aiding the shaitan with the waswasa, and then you are coming and saying, no, what's the point of wearing the hijab when you're wearing a jeans? So let's just be aware of what we are propagating. I'm not saying that all that media is saying is true, but somewhere we as practicing Muslims need to be aware what we are propagating about Islam. And then there's a lack of Islamic knowledge and different Islamic perspectives. So, hypothetically, you are listening to a very good lecture, an Islamic lecture, and there are certain doubts that are, clarified, and you are like, oh, this makes much more sense. And then you go on WhatsApp and you discuss the same thing with a sister, and she is like, yeah, that makes sense, but you know that sheikh has some akida issues, and so you should not listen to him. Okay, now the sister is well meaning and she is saying the right thing, but what happens here is a person who is not exactly aware in depth about those akida issues might be like, okay, I should just stop listening to Islamic lectures because, I might be gaining wrong knowledge anyways. And let's just focus on the new documentary, or suppose the music video that came out. And secondly, do we know about Islam as much as we do? And how can it be one Islam when it claims to empower women and on the other hand it seems to oppress women? How can it be the same religion that claims to be the religion of peace but at the same time has one of the premier terrorist organization under its name? What is exactly Islam about? And these are the questions that the Muslim youth have in mind, and frankly, they are not being answered properly. We are so busy arguing about which Islamic perspective is right, which is wrong, and we are pointing fingers, and we are, instead of correcting each other and having a fruitful discussion, we are so busy arguing, pointing fingers, slandering people at the same time that the Muslim youth is confused. And then obviously anyone would take the easy way out. They already have the study pressure, they already have colleges, schools, and social pressure. So they'll just simply focus on what's easy. And we are making Islam hard for them. And then comes the oppression. See, to them, our restrictions are a burden rather than protection. The women being oppressed, and uh, non-mahram men and women shouldn't be alone in a room, and different such things. To them, these restrictions become a burden. But when we study them deeply, we realize that these things, these rules, are protecting us. It's like you shouldn't swim in violent waters. This is a restriction, but it is a restriction that protects us. It's a restriction that saves us from drowning. But then there are some who decide that they can weather the storm and dive in and then drown. So we must, I'm not saying that you shouldn't study the religion in deep and accept whatever that comes your way, but also understand that the certain rules and restrictions upon you are for your own betterment. And coming to the topic of leaving Islam is easy. See, with Islam, there are rules, there are restrictions, there are principles, and there is also a certain pressure of being good, you know, being an acceptable Muslim because you are representing your religion. And then there's without Islam. If you don't have Islam, you have no accountability because you're not thinking about the day of resurrection. You are in the YOLO phase. You live only once and you should do anything and everything you want to. So it becomes very easy to bend the principles for gaining something. It becomes very easy to, you know, drink a bit of that alcohol to fit in the group of co-workers because there are no restrictions without Islam. But if there were no boundaries, no principles, no values. Life would be very chaotic. Everyone would do if anything, whatever they feel like, because what they will be thinking about is their own benefit. And it doesn't matter how it is affecting people, how it is affecting the society, how it is affecting the world in general. And some of this chaos is visible even now. There are people spending millions and millions of dollars on luxury items. And there are third world countries where children are dying of hunger. Okay, so discussion on the causes of the problems, and now let's focus on the solutions. So, what can the older generation do? So far, I've addressed these things from the perspective of the youth of Ummah, but that's not enough. We need to find solutions to these problems, and even though we know the underlying causes, we need to address them. So the first one would be teaching Islam, then showing them that they are loved, show them that they belong and accept them the way they are. Don't put a conditional acceptance like if you do this, if you do that, and then you will be accepted. Be a good role model, patience and perseverance. And that the last point is very important because the teenagehood, the young adult phase is very dramatic, and the youth will have a superhero complex thinking that they can achieve anything, and the problems that they are inquiring are something novel, and they will find the solutions to all the world problems, and they will not be open to discussion or correction. So you have to be patient with them. Okay, teaching Islam. Let's look back to how the youth of today was brought up. Were they taught about Islam with the same emphasis that was given to the worldly academics? And it's never too late to begin learning about Islam. You can start today. You can start with a YouTube lecture and start slow. And once the children know what Islam is and why there are certain rules and strictures, they will not be ashamed of being Muslims because they will understand why exactly we have certain rules. What will happen if we do not have those rules? Okay, show them that they are loved. Teens may have a tendency to act all strong and independent, and older adolescents might even be more huffy and puffy as they claim their independence. But they know that it is for the approval. They want the parents to look at them with pride. They want to make them proud. Every person wants somewhere to belong and feel safe. And if you are not providing that safe place in your house, or the Muslim community is not providing that niche, they will go looking for it in other places. And not everyone will bring them closer to Islam. And not everyone will have their best intentions in mind like you as parents too. So show them that they are loved and cared for, and they are where they belong. See, from a research of Eccles and Goodman, they said that in multicultural society like ours, the issue of belonging is especially important. One of the first issues for an adolescent walking through the door or even thinking about trying a community program is whether he or she can belong to this group of people. And when you are continuously nagging them, they will feel like they have to be someone other than they what really are, to belong to this group. Even though Islam is something that they grew up with, they don't feel really belonged. Because if you are not wearing a certain dress code, you're not acting a certain way, then then the Muslim community will simply say that you need to do this and you need to now be this way and act this way, and this is driving them out. So just show them that they belong, and it's a later point, but remember to be patient with them. The change will be gradual. You cannot expect that a Muslim, a young person, or even an older person who just listens to one lecture and tomorrow they'll be like 5 times praying, fasting on Mondays and Thursdays, and everything in an instant. It doesn't happen. It's a gradual process. You have to let the depth of Islam immerse in, inshallah, and be a good role model. Imitation is a concept in psychology, and children imitate their parents all the time. It's a subconscious process, and even they imitate the adults they look up to. And so you do not need to be a parent for this. If you are someone who has a good understanding of the deen or have the strong belief that Islam is the true religion or the right path, it is important that you be a good role model. Because if you, as a practicing Muslim, are a good role model, they will aspire to be like you. And at the end of the day, nobody can be perfect. But you have to be responsible. You have to keep in mind the effect your actions will be having on your kids or the younger generation around you. You know, if you are a practicing Muslimah and you wear a hijab, the way you walk, the way you talk, and the way you interact with people will be a representation of Islam. And if you are being loud, obnoxious, or even, some people cheat as Muslims. So what you are showing to the non-Muslims or the young Muslim youth who are unaware of Islam, that Islam is all about this. And now comes patience and perseverance. The youth will not respond to you immediately. And most of the time, they will rebel. They'll simply say that they do not want this. They just do not want to be bound by the rules of the Islam, and they cannot wear an abaya. They cannot grow a beard and then have these rules about how to walk, how to talk, lower your gaze. That's too much. And they might even get unreasonable. They might be rude to you. They might say rude things to Islam, but you have to be patient with them. You have to be patient with them. Change tactics, change the way you approach them. And if it's getting very bad for you, then simply be that good role model from the previous slide. Show them this is the right way by following that path yourself. Don't nag them, have a way of presenting your point, but at the same time, do not make them feel overwhelmed. As I said previously, it's a slow and gradual process. So you have to be very, very patient, especially with the youth, because this is a stage where they want to feel like nobody is right except for them. And now, solutions from the youth perspective. And there are many young Muslims who have an inkling that Islam is the right path, but they're afraid to dive in there because obviously the rules and the strictures that I have discussed are in depth, and at the same time, they're scared of all the expectations that will be on their shoulders, and they are afraid and anxious. So, what do the youth need to do? First of all, It is not just the older generation that needs to make changes. Right now, it might feel like all I'm doing is reprimanding your parents, but the youth needs to change too. Start with learning your religion, stop with the blame game. Stop saying to the older generation or the Muslim community or your imam that, it is because of the fact that you scream during your Friday lectures that I don't come to the masjid anymore. And it is because you said that Muslim women are a distraction and they cause fitna. That's why I don't come to the masjid anymore. And stop that. Start with yourself. You do not have the responsibility of the whole world, but like a strong young person, you can take the responsibility of yourself. If you want to be treated like an adult, you have to start taking the responsibility. Then discuss the pros and cons of Islam. Come to a logical conclusion if you must. Take the first step and keep walking and stay connected to the Quran. So let's begin with stopping with the blame game. Before we even begin on how to deal with the problems of you as the youth of the Ummah in the modern world is facing, I urge you to stop with the blame game. This is not about his fault, my responsibility, your responsibility. Let the past be in the past. Okay, you cannot go back in time and change things unless you have a time machine, then I want to borrow it. With your responsibility as an individual, as as a human. You know, yeah, some of you might be at the stage where you do not identify as Muslim youth. So focus on just as a human. Are you doing the things that a good Muslim person or a good person in general should be doing? Are you staying active with your academics, or are you procrastinating watching Netflix, or are you making changes in yourself, you know, being more productive, taking time to learn something new every day, or just focus on your academics and doing one lesson at a time, or is that all-nighter just before the exam with you? So apart from your personal growth, what are you doing as a human, not even as a Muslim youth, for the society? Do you do some community service? Do you volunteer around? Do you give something to the needy? Have you volunteered in any orphanages or old age homes recently? Have you done any of this, which would be in uh, in alignment with the definition of good human of the Western world? And if not, then I think it's a high time to stop with the blame game and focus with learn about your religion. Islam puts a lot of importance on learning and reflecting. Let's start with this. Instead of inheriting your religion or accepting Islam just because your parents are Muslims, which is actually the root cause of many doubts regarding Islam, because there are rules. Some are mixed with culture, but most of them are Islamic rules, and you don't know why they are there. You wear a hijab because your mother wears it too. You have a beard because your father has it. You go to the masjid because your father goes. And as a Muslim woman, you do certain things because your mother did it before you. And now that the world is changing and the definition of the roles of men and women are changing, we begin to doubt why we are doing this. Be- And that's because we do not have the knowledge of our religion, because we don't know why exactly these rules were put in front of you in the first place. So instead of inheriting your religion or accepting it just because your parents have it, study the religion on your own. And I'm not saying that you need to shift to Medina University for that. Just give it an hour a day. Read Quran with tafsir, or listen to a lecture. Just give it an hour a day. You can spare 1 hour. I'm sure of it. And when you give it 1 hour a day, I think it will go gradually after that. And pros and cons. So I presented this list actually a few slides previously with Islam and without Islam. So the question is, do you find Islam constraining? Do you think that being a devout Muslim is actually holding you back from reaching your full potential? Then make a list. Write down the pros and cons of following the rules laid out by Islam, the ones in authentic Quran and Sunnah. Okay, just taste back the authenticity of those rules and write them down. Be honest to yourself. Are the religious rulings protecting you or holding you back? And again, no immediate answers required. Just think over it and then come to your own logical conclusion, because the present time focuses so much on logic and they claim to say that Islam is illogical. So come to your own logical conclusions and take the first step and keep walking. It's okay to start out slow. I have told you previously there are levels of Iman and you just need to take the first step. Many young Muslims know that Islam is the truth, but are afraid of practicing it because they fear of being judged. And the judgment doesn't just come from the non Muslim strata of the society, but also the Muslim strata of the society. So they need to just start somewhere, you know, or simply because they do not overtly display the highest levels of Iman. Again, this is the discussed point. You won't start looking like a devout Muslim after one lecture. Even though this lecture is about Haya and appearances of a Muslim, it won't be an immediate reaction unless and until it's within your heart, deep within your heart, and you believe strongly in it. And that's okay. You need to start somewhere, take it one step at a time, and just don't come running back because someone told you something. You can make your own decisions. You are a young, responsible person. And if we were a couple of centuries back, you would, you know, have your own life to live by now. So, yes, you can make your own decisions. Do not come under the pressure of being perfect and stop practicing Islam as it is. The key here is to keep on working. Don't stop. I'm not asking you to do a 100-meter sprint. Just start walking slowly towards Islam and stay connected with the Quran. How many of us know what's written in the Quran? And I'm not saying that we have completed the Quran in Arabic or read the translation. How many of us understand the context of each verses? Why a certain verse was sent down? Which verses were then later abrogated and updated with newer verses, newer rulings? How many of us do know that? So, when you're reading the Quran, try to understand the words. Read it with tafsir. Try to memorize the later surahs, the smaller surahs, and then you can go with the bigger ones, inshallah. Give at least 15 minutes per day to understanding the Quran so that you know directly from the book what Islam is, and you're not going around cluelessly, following the sheeps where they are taking you. Just try and understand what exactly is in the Quran. Okay, now coming to the self esteem. as you have by now seen that I am focusing a lot on self-esteem and how the self-esteem of the youth is affected by different causes, and at the same time how having a strong self-esteem will bring about um, confidence in being Muslims. So this is a quote over here. What holds you back is not what you are, it's what you think you aren't. I cannot memorize Surah al-Baqarah. No, I cannot memorize Arabic surahs. I cannot memorize those du'as. They're very tough. And I cannot do this because, I am just not capable of doing that. And all these things are affecting your self-esteem. So let's see a chart about the high self-esteem versus low self-esteem. Let's look at low self-esteem first. So low self-esteem brings about insecurity. They we are not sure what we want. And so if one person comes in and challenges our views, our whole building crumbles down because we are not sure. And there's a victim mentality. Psychology has this term called loci of control or locus of control. What happens with low self-esteem is we blame the world for whatever is happening with us and we refuse to take responsibilities. So and so happened because I'm a Muslim. So and so happened because the person in front of me was an Islamophobe. So and so happened because of the situation. We are not taking the responsibility. Somewhere it must be like, maybe I had bad grades. Maybe I failed in the exam because I didn't study as well as I should have. So then there's a lack of confidence and self-absorption. And low self-esteem is due to the discrepancy between guiding self-ideals, how I would like to be, and how I perceive myself to be. Sometimes you want to be a good Muslim, sometimes you want to be a good person, you want to shoot for the stars, and you have the capability to do so. But you perceive yourself as inferior and unable to do things, and this makes you attempt to cover up all these inferiorities you think you possess, and that comes out as a cry of help instead of making you look stronger. It comes out as arrogance and oftentimes mildly stupid. But on the other end, when you have a high self esteem, you have tolerance because you are confident in your own skill. And so when people come and question you and question your faith and question basically everything about you have a certain tolerance within you because you know that you are right. And that gives you patience to deal with them. That gives you some respect and empathy to deal with such people because you know that somewhere there are doubts in within them and it's their own uh, difficulties that's making them act the way they are. So this makes you more responsible, honest, and open to feedback. People with low self-esteem will take one criticism and hold it so close that they'll, crumple up under the weight of that criticism. At the same time, people with high self-esteem, they'll take that criticism and they'll, inshallah, improve on it, break it down and do something about it and just stop and just not just keep on holding it. And then they're motivated, they're willing to take risks, they're loving and lovable, they're not overcompensating for their insecurities. They are loving and lovable, kind, generous, helpful, and take responsibility. They know what they are feeling. There must be somewhere they had gone wrong. And the greatest advantage of taking responsibility is you're not blaming it on the situation, saying that I cannot change the situation, but you're blaming yourself, and now you can change yourself. That's within you. That can come from you, and you are in complete control of your life with the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And these traits generate a sense of high self esteem. So, how exactly can I improve my self esteem as a Muslim? And this beautiful picture with, you know, learning to love and accept myself inside and out. We wear masks around people. We act very different in public than we act around, our family members or act alone. So the way you are even praying your salah alone is slightly different than you pray it in public. And there are different things, different insecurities within you, and self-esteem issues are common. It's a part of being human, but you can resolve it. And no, uh, having a healthy self-esteem does not equal to narcissism. It does not equal to arrogance. It it's not saying that I am the best, but it says that I am good and I can improve. Because when you're saying I am the best or I am perfect, then you're saying that I don't need any improvisations. But a person with a healthy self esteem recognizes that they are not perfect, they have openings to be better, and they accept it. So, what can you do to improve your self esteem? Be mindful. You have a thought process of things, and you need to be aware of this thought process where you are, becoming insecure or blaming yourself for things or blaming the situation where you take your inferiorities and shove it on other people, as a form of compensation. You are bringing other people down so that you can feel good about yourself. If you just look within yourself, you will find it. I'm sure you'll find it. And then once you find the story about the entire narrative you play out in your head that I am ugly, I cannot memorize Arabic, I am bad at everything. You know, maybe I was not made for understanding Arabic, it's just not me. Or, you know, I'll never be as beautiful as that person. Or I am bad at this, I'm bad at math. You have the story in your head, you have an entire narration, a background story with characterizations for you. So once you um, pay attention to this negative self talk and the victimized narration of yourself you have in your mind, then it's the right time to change the story. Change it. And how can you change it? First of all, avoid comparison. Each and every person is different at different levels of Iman, at different levels of success, at different levels of abilities, capabilities. So, the first thing that you can do is stop this comparison. Stop looking at other person's grass and start watering your own so that you can stop saying that the grass is always greener on the other side. Stop looking there. Why do you need to tend to your own garden, tend to your own trees? then you should focus on your strengths. And please don't say that you have no strengths, you have no positive points, all you have is weaknesses. That's not humanly possible. You can hold on to your strengths, improvise over there, and become better. And then forgive. Forgive people, forgive yourself. Most of the times, we are holding on to these uh, mistakes, these indiscretions that other people did with us, that we did with ourselves. You know, I am this person because I was so bad in seventh standard and I did this, and that's why I am, you know, fat right now. Why? You made a mistake, say a week ago or 10 years ago. Why are you holding on to it? And if you are holding on to it, why aren't you doing something about it? Just holding up a book and saying that this is a book about all the mistakes I made is not going to solve anything. You have to forgive yourself for all the mistakes you did, and then make sure that you don't repeat those mistakes. Improve yourself. Address the fact why these mistakes happened in the first place. And then once you find the solutions to it, just throw that book away. Burn it if you must. And at the same time, yes, people hurt you. Some people said some things that shattered your self esteem like anything. And now you are holding this grudge against them. If so and so had not said this about me, I would be a different person today. Okay, they did. But then, now that you know that it's because of them and because of what they said, what's stopping you from becoming a better person? Think about it. What's stopping you rather than yourself? And reap what you sow. So, if you want to be treated well, if you want to be treated with respect, with kindness, with humility, start acting like that. Because the way you treat people, it will come back to you. And sometimes we are not ready to receive the blows we give. We are not ready to receive the criticism we throw at others. So act with people like you want people to act with you. And lastly, remember that you are above your circumstances and problems. This life, this dunya is a test. There will be a roller coaster ride with highs and lows, and sometimes lows will be bigger than your highs, and you might find yourself in deeper problems as you proceed with life. But you are a strong person. You can get through things, you can wade through heavy waters, and at the end of the day, even though you fail to address some issues, you are above your problems. You are above your circumstances. You are a person. You are not a report card, on how you handle things, on how many milestones you have achieved at a certain age. You are bigger than that. You are better than that. You are a person. And more than asking people to treat you like a person, you should try to treat yourself like one. And Alhamdulillah, that's it. So I think we have half an hour for question and answers. So anybody has any questions that I can address? Okay, so it seems like we do not have any questions. So I'll address the ones that I got from my social media, and then we'll go in with that, inshallah. So the first would be the first question is how to deal with petulant children. And I think I have addressed a bit of it over here. And how you deal with children also depends on their age. So how you treat a toddler will be slightly different on how you treat a 6-year-old, and definitely largely different than how you treat an older person, a young person. So with that in mind, you should first of all discipline them, starting with explaining things to them. You can take away their rewards. You can explain exactly why they are being punished. Because, yes, the and the punishment system works, but your children are not your pets. And your children are not your pets. And just hitting them or their taking away their rewards or things or punishing them with grounding them will not make them understand why exactly they are being punished. You need to address the issue, the elephant in the room, and then you have to make them understand exactly why the behavior was wrong. And with petulant children, again, patience is very important. Yes, I'm not saying that they shouldn't be punished entirely, but they are conscious beings. They understand what's going around them. And most of the time, they'll need a reason why they shouldn't go out in the dark. They'll need a reason. And saying there are monsters will suffice for a toddler. But as say, the young woman grows older, she'll need to understand why exactly she shouldn't step out in the dark on a lonely street. You have to be open with your children about it. And Uh, and the second question is, why don't children listen? So they listen actually. They pay a lot of attention. And they listen more than you know. They see more than you realize. They are observing on how you interact with them. They are observing how you interact with your spouse or how you interact in the society. Like if you are going out for lunch, they are listening on how you treat the waiter or how do you talk to the teachers. They are paying attention. I think the question should be, why don't they listen uh, to the to you, and why do not they listen to what you've got to say? Actually, they're listening. They're not exactly following uh, what sort of tools you have set down for them. So what you can do is to make the children listen. First, listen to them. First, observe them and do a introspective check on how exactly you are acting around them. And if they have seen you around your parents, then you should also consider how you have been acting around your parents in front of them. Because, as I said before, children love to model their parents. And even though it's an unconscious process, they will just imitate you on many things. So, another question is how to cope up with the thought that people mock a Muslim due to their religion. Actually, If we are being completely honest, people are mocked all the time. If we think that we are being mocked only because we are Muslims, it's correct, but it's not unique. We to dive into something a little political or cultural, we mock Americans most sometime, we mock our political leaders all the time. We mock certain cultures. We mock the way certain people act around in their cultures. So, yeah, we are mocking people too. So it's okay, you have to understand that um, somewhere us Muslims have started to see ourselves as the victim of this big bad world. And while some of it is true, we are not the victims everywhere. And the situation is not as bad as we make it out to be. Yeah, it is bad in some places. Hate crimes are there, but we are not mocked all the time. And if you are being mocked on your religion, you need to understand that even Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was mocked when he started to propagate our religion. And emulate on how he treated people. When there was a woman who used to throw trash on him every single day, and she didn't throw it on him one day, he actually went in and checked on her. And when he realized that she was ill, he tended to her. So, fighting and arguing, or just saying that, I am being victimized over here, will not be the solution. You should be the better person over here, and show them what really your religion is all about. And actions speak louder than words. So your actions should show what exactly you your religion stands for. And that's how we go about, inshallah. And another question is, should adolescents be restrained from social media? I think everyone should be restrained from using social media from time to time. From 2-year-old toddlers who are obsessed with YouTube videos, YouTube poems and rhymes, to 20-year-olds, to 30-year-olds, to 40-year-olds. There should be a detox day where social media is not being used, or at least limit to the amount of time we spend on social media. I'm not saying limit the time you spend on the phone. Yeah, screen time should be limited, and you should have time for physical activity, and you should have time to interact with people in real life and real time. But social media specifically, Facebook, Instagram, and all sorts of new social Snapchat, these should be limited, because what's happening most of the time, you're scrolling down looking at other people's life, thinking that uh, their life is perfect. In comparison, my life is horrible. So just to you know tone down that comparison, to tone down that self hatred and all, social media should be limited, inshallah. But yeah, if you are restraining them, locking away their phones, giving them phones without social media, or not allowing them to access social media at all, this is not something that should be done. Because at the end of the day, their peers, their friends are talking about social media. You are saying to your child that no, you cannot have a Facebook account till you turn 18. But her classmates or his classmates already have a Facebook account and they are connecting over there. And in classroom, they are having a discussion about social media. And what this is doing is that this is making your teen very curious about what exactly is going on there. And the thing is, when you allow your child to do something, you can moderate it. Okay, you can see how they are, um, what they are doing on social media, what sites they are visiting, what is on their account. But if you restrain them from using social media completely, then you have no moderation over it, because they might be going behind your back and you will have no clue what exactly they are doing. And this is an opening of going completely wrong. So yeah, restraining is one thing, and banning it completely is entirely another. So any more questions? Okay, do we have any more questions? Okay, so if we do not have any more questions, inshallah, I'll end this. And I want to apologize with regarding to the time. I think there was a confusion on my part. Um, okay, there's one more question. With regards to teens, one can only advise with what they can do actually, because they are away from the house most of the times. They do actually can't be monitored. Hmm. So the question is that what happens when the teens cannot be moderated? Actually, this starts very young. Um, as I said previously, that simply saying as soon as your child gets an understanding about certain things, you have to start explaining them why there are rules. Because simply rules will just make them a rebel of sorts, and they think that my parents don't really know anything and they're just afraid, and that's why they are limiting me to certain things. So they start thinking that I can handle this on my own and I'll do things my way. But when you're explaining things to them and you are open to them from a young age, what will happen is that they will have a general idea that if my parents are saying something or advising me over something, they know certain things, they have faced certain issues. And here comes the thing that you should be open to your kids about things. I know that you want to protect your child and from the big bad world and don't want to tell them what how ugly the world really can be. But at the same time, if you are showing them the moderated ugliness of the world, it won't be a crumbling shock to them. and at the same time they'll understand your reasoning for strictures. So starting off in childhood from the age of 5 to 11, 12, you have to explain certain things to them. And you cannot always moderate your child. You cannot coddle them, or you can not just, like Rapunzel, put them in a tower and tell them mother knows best. You will have to let them go sometime or the other. You cannot always put them under your watch where they'll be safe and sound. So, yes, there is a sense of trust that you have to give them. Then it will be on them after you have completely let them go. Then it will be on them. You have done your duty about explaining things. You have brought them up. Now you have to trust your own self and let them go and call their own shots. And this does not mean that, when they mess up, you're like, I told you so that you shouldn't have done that. No, be with them and, help them correct their mistakes. But at the same time, sometimes you have to let them go. And yeah, um, they would be just advising after a certain point because while childhood is a phase where children will want to be like their parents, adolescence is something where they want to be anything but like their parents. So yeah, at that point you'll be just able to advise them and guide them. Other than that, you'll have to trust your own child rearing abilities and all the lessons that you have given to them since their childhood. I think, does that make sense? Okay, any more questions? Okay, Alhamdulillah. So, any more questions? Or should we end this? Okay, so there's a question. Okay, a question is coming, inshallah, so we'll wait for it. Yeah, so as I was explaining that there was a confusion between me and the organizers, and I started an hour early. And so I apologize for that. And the recorded chat will be available for you all, so you can see it. And then if there are any questions, you can ask me over here or through my social media handles, and inshallah I'll help you through it. Okay. Did you say you must start explaining things at 5 or 11 to 12? Didn't catch. Okay. What I meant to say is that as soon as your child develops a sense of understanding, and you know that they have developed a sense of understanding when they start questioning you about things. The favorite word of a toddler is ye kyun? Why this? Why exactly that? So when they start developing a sense of understanding, you have to start explaining them things. And of course, this needs to be done in levels too. You cannot ask a 5-year-old to read a novel. So start with a picture book. Start with the basics, very basics of the rules, the things that a 5-year-old child can understand, and then it will grow deeper as they grow older. And yeah, it will drag till 11 to 12 or 15 or 16, depending upon your culture. And then when there's a time, you'll have to give the independence to the child. You also have the responsibility to enable your children to give them the ability to make their own decisions. If you simply make all the decisions for them, and even if they are following them, you are not actually enabling your children, and this will be difficult when they set out in the world. So yeah, you have to start explaining from the very young age when they start to develop a sense of understanding. Uh, Another question is how to increase the love for Salah in their hearts. Pray with them. To increase the love for Salah in their hearts, pray with them. What I have noticed amongst many Muslims is that Salah usually comes second. But what should happen is when it's time for Salah, you should stop everything and pray. Make that 5 minutes of Salah your break from the world and make it a time of tranquility. Show them that you love Salah, and then they'll eventually start understanding why you love Salah and start praying it with you, and then eventually without you too. So that if they come across any problem, they know Allah is there to solve it, and they need to connect themselves to Allah through Salah. Oh, yeah, exactly. See, again, it comes about modeling and imitating. So when you encounter a problem, what do you do? Do you panic around? Do you run around? Or if there is a decision that is to be made, what are you doing? Are you making a pro and cons list? And you should make a pro and cons list. But at the same time, you should show them how your faith is in Allah. And it's the little things, you do not need a great tragedy to show your children how you act. It's just simple things. And so when you yourself make Salah you know, the timeline in which your day revolves around, or istikhara, your point of making decisions, or praying whenever you need something desperately, then that's how they know that this is how we get things. This is how we get what we want from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is how we deal with the difficulties. And yeah, there should be effort, hard work, and at the same time a trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that everything will be fine, and if not fine, it will be for our best in this dunya and akhirah. So to develop a love of Salah, number one, you need to show them that you love Salah too. And it's not just a duty or an obligation. It is something you need to go in the world as a high functioning person, because it's a break from the mundane life, inshallah. So, does that help? Any follow up questions regarding it, or any other questions from the viewers? Nandi Jazakallah khair. So, any more questions? I think our time is also up, Alhamdulillah. But yeah, I can address any questions if there are. And yes, for all those who missed the live because of the misunderstanding regarding the time, as I was saying, I'll respond to the comments on this recorded video, and also will be responding to the comments or questions that are sent to the Islamic Reflections social media pages, and any questions that are sent to me directly, inshallah. Okay. Then, if that's all, inshallah, I'll just end it. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.